The goal of making games is to make stuff people like. Whether you're a developer or an artist wanting to create and be seen, or an executive trying to make a lot of money. Sometimes you have guaranteed hits, and other times, well, you never know. Hi folks. Today we are talking about the 10 biggest surprise hits of 2024. Starting off with number 10. It's Metaphor ReFantazio. And let me tell you, a lot of these games are going to be ones that you hear me say I was rooting for, and I don't think there's a better example than this one. That said, a game called Metaphor ReFantazio sounds pretty niche to expect to be a hit. The thing is, Atlas knows what the hell they're doing. They've been making Persona for God knows how long, and a lot of those lessons were put to use in the making of Metaphor ReFantazio. It's obviously a slightly different game with real-time combat and a vastly different world, but they knew how to both tap into their existing audience as well as make something new. And if you execute that right, that should expand your audience in theory, and, well, they did. This game is super cool. It feels like a sort of alternate world Persona where the world is a lot less normal. There's more mysticism. There's more off-the-wall stuff just in the everyday world. But the story's also different enough that it doesn't feel like retreading any of the stuff from Persona. I don't know, it's just... it was an obvious game for me. I love Atlas and their RPGs, but this thing somehow managed to reach beyond that audience. I think by being, dare I say it, a little weirder, which is counterintuitive, honestly. That should make it harder to be a hit, but for some reason it got massive attention and sold very, very well among not only the Atlas fanbase, but lots of people who probably haven't played an Atlas game before. I think a large part of it, though, and a large part of all of the games we're going to cover today, their success is due to the fact they're just great games. Metaphor ReFantazio. I think you'd have a difficult time arguing, even if it's not necessarily for you, that it's not a great game. At number 9 is Astrobot. Now here's the thing about Astrobot. I've played every one of these, the VR one, the more normal follow-up, and they've never really been like a full game. And that's what's kept them, I think, from being a hit. Because from every other perspective, they're not only a celebration of a bunch of PlayStation stuff, they're just really good platforming games. Astrobot's probably the best of all of them. It's refined the level design to near perfection, at least for this type of a game. It takes all of the stuff of the modern platformer you probably recognize from games like Sonic Frontiers or Super Mario Odyssey. Honestly, while I mention those games, it's definitely its own thing. And that's another reason why it's such a successful platforming game. We get platforming games, but they're so obviously derived from old games. And yeah, it owes a lot to old games, but it's definitely something in of itself, which again is ironic to say given it's such a romp through PlayStation history. But it's a lot of fun. If you haven't tried this one and you like 3D platformers, I don't know why you haven't tried this one. You probably don't have a PS5. Get one, what are you doing? Manifest all the money that you need and buy a PS5 already. It's so easy to just have tons of money and buy a PS5. I know what I know. If you can though, buy a PS5 and play this game. It's super fun for platform fans. And number 8 is Space Marine 2. Now, who could have guessed that a game that's basically, mechanically speaking, the same thing, plus some modern improvements and a few novel ideas. It wasn't like a flop or anything, but it wasn't a mainstream massive hit or anything, and it certainly gained popularity as time passed. It's a cult classic at this point. Who would have thought that would be a huge hit? Granted, it deserves it. Have you ever played Space Marine or a Space Marine 2? To be frank, Space Marine 2 hones it to perfection. These are games that are very different than anything that is really out there right now. It certainly has its Gears of War influence, but it's definitely not Gears of War. I don't know. I was kind of biased towards this one just because I am old, so I wanted it to do well, so I was never like, I don't think it's gonna do well. But I didn't expect it to be like a big hit, and it really was. The bastard sold 4.5 million copies their first month. That's crazy. If you haven't played it and want to play what will come off as probably a unique third-person shooter, I'd say give it a spin. I love the hell out of both Space Marine games. I think I like the second better, and I'm highly stoked at its success. And number 7 is Helldivers 2. I just gotta go ahead and say, have you ever wanted a game that was a pay game with a mostly free-to-play business model to do well? I mean, you've got battle passes, you've got cosmetic microtransactions, and again, this is a game that you buy. There is basically no situation where you describe this to me, and I am not hostile towards it. I did not play Helldivers 2 immediately. It was something I wanted to play. Helldivers 1 is a great game. Helldivers 2 could potentially be a great game, but I waited for people to kind of say, this is a good game. It's worth trying, because wow, this is the exception that proves the rule. It's so rare for a game to do what this game does and be as good as it is, that the fact it stands out that much is exactly why this business model should be used by the vast majority of video games that use it. I mean, I'm not even talking about the gameplay at this point. This is why people were wary about this game. It's not that people didn't know what Helldivers was, it's Starship Troopers, but a game. There's not really a lot of controversy about why that would be good. It's good, but the thing is, it's so good and it handles that business model in a way that isn't intrusive to such an extent that it's just such a good game that you don't really feel like you need to care about the microtransactions. I mean, I literally have never even engaged with them a single time at this point. What else is there to say? If you remember Helldivers 1, you know why Helldivers 2 is good. If you've played it, you know why it's good. If you remember the discussions leading up to it once people found out it was a full-price game with microtransactions in it, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I said we didn't really expect major success here. You know what? Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and countless other games like that are like props to the Helldivers 2. Moving on to number 6, it's Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. This is going to be the first one where I say to you, yeah, I know a lot of people were expecting it not to do well. There hasn't been an Indiana Jones game in a long time. The most recent Indiana Jones movie, while certainly better than the one before, it didn't really rock the box office. Machine Games is not known for making games like this. They're known for first-person shooters, and while those sensibilities were certainly useful in the development of this game, it's definitely out of their comfort zone. All this stuff added up to what I remember to be a lot of skepticism. And well, I wasn't one of the skeptics. And on top of that, I expected it to do well. So this wasn't a surprise for me, but it came as a massive surprise to many that this was a good game and did very well. It's also just a unique game, I would say. There's not a whole lot of games that don't feel like other games in some way at this point, and this game really does stand on its own. Moving on to number 5. It's the Silent Hill 2 remake, the now second game on this list that I will say that kind of crap about. Silent Hill 2 remake got a lot more skepticism than Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and that's to say the very least. Bloober Team isn't exactly a beloved dev with a bunch of huge hits under their belt. Their early output is mostly in portable, and it has box art that looks like it might as well be a mobile game most of the time. Then they made the 2 Layers of Fear games, which are pretty decent, along with a few others of that ilk that were a little less well-received, kind of a C- developer. And then, for whatever reason, Konami decided to trust them with probably the remake of their biggest game, at least among the ones that make sense to remake. If not the biggest, then certainly the most beloved. This project had a lot of vulnerabilities going in, but I remember at one point saying, this is basically Bloober Team's chance to prove that they can hang with the big boys. If this one isn't good, then no game they ever make is ever going to be good. And the thing is, they have made a few good games and have shown themselves capable of that. Like I said, the Layers of Fear games are pretty good. On top of that, they listened to the feedback when they put out various trailers or gameplay, and people reacted negatively. They made changes. They made changes when people communicated dissatisfaction, and that showed they wanted to do this right, and they did. Man, oh man, is Silent Hill 2 a great remake of its namesake. It has everything you want in a good remake. It's essentially the same game but expands it a little bit. Not a lot. Just enough to where it feels fresh without jettisoning anything super important. It looks good. It plays good. For all intents and purposes, it essentially did for Silent Hill what Resident Evil's remakes have done for Resident Evil. They've successfully brought a classic series back into the mainstream without off the original fans while making a game that's very oriented towards how games are now. It's a balancing act, and it pulls it off pretty flawlessly. Now, I didn't expect I was going to be describing it like this. I thought it was going to be a good remake that people enjoyed and bought, so I'm not surprised that it did well. I am surprised that it is as good as it is, and that's not even coming from somebody who wasn't expecting it to be good. Good job, Bloober team. Don't mess it up with Kronos, the New Dawn, whatever the hell that is. Moving on to number 4, it's Palworld. Palworld was a game embroiled in controversy. Still pretty much is, but it's more legal controversy now than the controversy it was facing before. And most people are pretty much on Palworld's side with this controversy. When it first rose to prominence, people were super angry that it was copying Nintendo. The problem is, the way it's copying Nintendo is the way that any genre starts, and Palworld is also actually pretty different from Pokemon. It's certainly not Pokemon. It's more of an action survival game with Pokemon elements. And with that description, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to play it. An action survival game with Pokemon elements. Those words together sound great, and it is great. I didn't expect it to do well, but when I first saw the name crop up, I was like, you know what? This could be good, and it was. But on top of that, it sold gangbusters, which I did not expect. Although in retrospect, maybe I should have on account it does a lot of what Pokemon does, but a lot better than the recent Pokemon games, which have been riddled with bugs and bad performance. While it's definitely a different experience, having an experience where you can capture monsters in the way that you do in Pokemon and have it run smooth with nice graphics is kind of weird at this point, unfortunately. And number 3 is Once Human. Let me go ahead and say on record, I've pointed out a couple of these games as games I expected to do well. This was one I outwardly expected to bomb, not because it isn't cool, it is cool. Not because it's got bad graphics or isn't distinct, it has great graphics and it definitely sets itself apart. It's that from the outside, it's kind of hard to understand what the hell's going on with it. In the lead up to Once Human, a lot of the thoughts I had about it were, what the hell is this game actually? And while that is me being curious about something and probably going to at least try it out, a lot of the time when gamers think, what the hell is this thing? They don't. And it's certainly not because gamers are not curious. It's that, well, most of them, their job isn't video games. And keeping up with video games kind of actually is a job nowadays. But Once Human, I mean, it's cool as hell. It's got a really unique world, a really unique aesthetic. In some ways, it even reminds me of older games just in how it looks, despite the fact it is also very pretty. There's something very old school about it, and I love that the big monsters you end up fighting are fun as hell. I mean, this is a very good game, and in my opinion, that's probably why it did well. It piqued enough people's curiosity, and once the very positive reviews started piling up, it was kind of hard to deny. Moving on to number 2, it's Black Myth Wukong. This is the final of the I wasn't necessarily surprised, but everyone else was. And I understand why everyone else was with this one. It's because when something seems too good to be true, it's because it is. Or at least most of the time, it's because it is. But Black Myth Wukong is too good to be true. But it's also true. It's a beyond beautiful game with an incredibly good combat system that looks and borrows a little bit from Dark Souls, but is much faster, has a lot of its own ideas, tells a classic story that, frankly, we don't really get a lot of great video game adaptations of, and is absolutely chock full of incredibly fun bosses that all feel unique, or at least unique enough to each other, that you keep coming back for it. I don't have a whole lot more to say about Black Myth Wukong, other than it's like a game that you could easily call overhyped. But if you've played it, you know it wasn't overhyped. The hype is all valid. Play Black Myth Wukong. And finally, at number 1, it's Stalker 2. This was a game I was fully expecting not to really land, not necessarily having bad gameplay or not being a good game, but I more mean it's been a long time since the original Stalker. This game went through development hell like very few other games that actually get released. Even other games that go through development hell and get released have never been through something like this. The development hell was crazy over this game. That and the original Stalker is kind of janky and weird, and they leaned into that. I'm not saying I don't like that. I do. It's kind of janky and weird in a way that it's clear they understood how to make that a good thing as opposed to a bad thing. But I mean, if you add up all the components, there's no good reason for this to have done well, at least on paper. When you play it, it's like, oh, it's like better Stalker. Still, that does kind of encase it to a sort of niche demographic, or at least that's what I thought. And then it came out and blew the lid off everything with its sales. It took 2 days to sell 1 million copies of this game.